Good evening, everybody. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with our picture. Hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but I'm getting an error message on oh, you've got a picture. Interesting. Okay, well, I don't have a picture here, so I can't tell that we're going. Let me just try to restart that real quick. I won't go anywhere. Let me see if there's a trick to this. Apparently not. Okay. Well, I didn't need to see myself anyway, but you can hear me. Okay. Let's have a thumbs up on the yep, perfect, clear sound. Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, I don't know why the playback isn't working, but not to worry. I'm going to run through a few quick things just I want to tell you about before I get distracted, and then I've got a couple of questions that were asked before the meeting, before the live stream. Phil asked one this evening, and then I've got a couple that I got during the week. I've also got a funny story about decapitation that I want to tell you, but I'll do that later on if we have time. Just remind me. All right. Thanks to everybody who came on Thursday for our first Macro Talk 2, the European thing. It was fantastic. We had 100 people, and some VIPs showed up, and it was a really fun afternoon. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And which reminds me to mention something to you. My friend Curious was there, and I didn't realize it until later, but Curious Scientist, he is an engineer and a friend of mine, and he's in in Europe, and he came to the doohickey. He can't come during the regular one either because of the ridiculous time. But I was talking to him just a couple of weeks ago about the DIY macro rail that he has made, and he's got videos coming out about it. And I just wanted to tell you guys that he is the guy that taught me how to use all of this stuff, and he's just a very brilliant chap. So if you're into engineering at all, check out his channel, Curious Scientist, and support him. Do his Patreon thing so that he can keep doing what he does. Yeah, it would be great if you did that. And for those of you who are waiting for the code for this stepper-driven stacking motor that stacking rail that he's invented, yeah, if you give him money, he'll probably give it to you. I'm sure he will, actually. So give him some money. Support the guy. He's a great guy. Okay, now, somebody asked me at the weekend, how do I get to come to one of those 2-hour private sit-down chat things that you do every other Saturday? Very good question. There are two ways that you can do it, and one of them relates to an announcement I haven't made yet. But the first one is you join Patreon. If you join Patreon, you're invited to all of them. You can come every other week. I mean, that's because that's when I'm there, is every other week, Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. So that's one way you can do it. The other way is, this occurred to me as almost as a joke. I was talking to my Patreon friends on Saturday and trying to figure out what I needed to do for prizes for the photo competition. And I jokingly said, well, they could have an hour with me, and then the winner would only have to have 15 minutes with me. But apparently that actually was an acceptable idea that they thought would be quite good. A private session with me. That's a $200 tutorial or tuition session if you win. If that's a decent prize to get, then that's what we'll do. Because the shipping of sending stuff to the UK, for example, is just terrible. But anyway, I just thought I'd mention it, that's something that was thought of. You know, I was telling you last time that I was thinking we ought to split the competition into two, so that we have people who are fairly new to macro and people who are old timers are not going head to head. And then I thought about it and thought, well, that's not in the spirit of the thing, is it? And I had a couple of the seasoned pro folks that are regular contributors to the competition say that they felt bad about, you know, being in the places every week, and thought they were going to just step down from it. And I just pushed back against that. I think that's not a good idea. I think that it's these guys and their pictures that show us what we should be trying to do, and we've got to have that. I mean, a competition's a competition. The best picture is always going to win. I don't care who took it. But what I did come up with was this, and tell me what you think about a handicapping system, whereby every time you get an honorable mention, every time you place or every time you win, we'll figure some score out, but you get some points taken off your score. You end up with a handicap, so that over time it'll kind of bring the frequent flyer winners down into an area where you can beat them just by virtue of the fact that they've already started at a disadvantage. I thought this would be great. I used to play golf a long time ago, and that's what they do in golf. I never got the pleasure of being handicapped. I mean, it was always them that got handicapped because they were better than me. But it does level the playing field. I'm thinking about doing that, so you let me know what you think. If that's a good idea, I want to hear about it. Okay, says I've got an excellent connection even though I can't see anything. Not to worry. What else did I have to tell you about? I'm almost through with these messages. First question, how do you install the Lightroom plugin? A lot of people have problems with this, and it's really terribly simple. You do it in Lightroom. Well, you can do it in Lightroom, but sorry, the easiest way is to just do it in Xerene. If you just open Xerene and run it, and then go to, I think it's options, what does he call it? Preferences? Options, and then plugins, and then Lightroom. And that's all you've got to do, and it'll install the plugin so that the next time you want to use Lightroom, you just select your pictures in Lightroom and hit right click and hit export to Xerene, and it does everything else for you. And then when you're done, you save it and they come back to Lightroom. It's magic. It's not magic, it's code, but it seems like magic. So that's all you've got to do. And if you've got any questions, let me know. I mean, the trick is, I think most people try to do it manually in Lightroom, and then it's a bit tricky. It's better to just let Xerene do it for you. Did you guys know that this rectangle at the bottom with an S in it, the middle symbol, you should press that and see what happens. It's a thing that will automatically take money out of your bank account, I believe, but worth a try, all right. Do I use MF12's modeling light? Question from Bud Parrott. I don't know if you know this, but the MF12s, the teeny weeny little flashes, have a modeling light. It's quite a bright LED that gives you some light onto your subject so you can tell roughly where the flash is going to fall. The answer is no, I generally don't. though I have been using them with my broken MF12s to use them as video lights. They work for that. They also work as modeling lights. I don't use them because I have a little IKEA lamp on my rig, and that's what I use for my modeling light. But I know it's not really a modeling light because it's not coming from where the flash will be. But I don't think the light's bright enough to really do the thing that it claims to do. But Bud likes it though, so I probably should try it again sometime. How do you select multiple images in Lightroom? This is an interesting question to get, but I'm going to show you if you've got just a second. Presumably you do, or you wouldn't be here. What we're going to do is I'm going to take you over to my other screen for just a second, and what we'll do is we'll go to this month's pictures, of which there are already quite a few. Now let's say I wanted to select all of these Weevil pictures except this one. Now the way you do it, of course, is to click on the first one and then shift click on the last one to select them. That's the easiest way. But where it gets a little bit funny is, what if you want to select most of them but not all of them? And that's where this trick comes in. One thing you can do is select them all and then command click, which is the, what is it on a PC? It's the one next to the space bar. It's a command on a Mac, and you hold that down, and then you could click the one you wanted to exclude from your selection. Another way to do it, probably the way I most often do it. I didn't mean to give myself 5 stars for that. 0 gets rid of them. But what I'll do is, if I'm going through a large number of pictures and want to, this is usually when I'm throwing them out. I want to throw out everything but the saved image. Here's a final image. Right, so I want to save that, but I don't want to save any of the others. Then what I'll do is, normally there's 1 or 2 in front and behind, so I'll select any to the right, then I will command click any to the left, and then if I go to the first image and hold down shift and command and then click, it will only backfill to the last one I selected. This is a very handy tool to have, because then you can leapfrog and leave your final images in place. So I just thought I'd share that with you. It is a handy thing. If you ever want to get rid of the highlighted ones, just click on another one and it'll take the highlighting away. Okay, so that was just a little something that I wanted to answer. 2 questions that I'm going to address, and then I am going to say hello to everybody properly. The first was, I was asked by somebody, and then I promptly forgot who it was who asked me, what is the best microscope to use to study or to photograph inclusions in gemstones, which is mostly what gemologists are actually photographing a lot of the time, either to identify the mineral or to take pictures of it for whatever reason. But the questions are a bit more complicated than it might sound. There isn't a best way, but if you only could have one microscope, I think probably most gemologists would choose some kind of a low power stereo dissecting microscope. Though I think the best pictures, and that was what the question was, what takes the best pictures, are going to come from a compound microscope, often using either dark field or some kind of oblique lighting with fiber optics. So there's a toss-up really between the two. I think to just examine the stones, because they're usually pretty big anyway compared to little pieces of tissue anyway. Using a stereo microscope is probably more practical, but if you're after the best quality photographs you possibly can get, I would say probably a compound scope and set up specifically for photographing gems. Not a super answer, I know, but that's what I would choose. All right, the first question that I got was from Phil, who wanted to know why, if the ITL 200 is made by Nikon for using with their Nikon Fluor objectives, they're really, really expensive objectives. Why do we use it reversed? And did Nikon screw up? Well, no. The lens works beautifully in a microscope at its regular focal distance and in the forward orientation. We're not using it like that. We're using it as part of a completely different rig, and we're using it backwards purely because the images are sharper when it's backwards. It's not a symmetrical lens, so it behaves differently in reverse. The actual tube length has to be significantly longer than it would be in the microscope too. So it's not that Nikon screwed up. It's just we're using it not with a Nikon objective, for one thing. We're using it with oftentimes Mitutoyo objectives, and in that particular setting, using it reverse does appear to give sharper corner-to-corner imaging. So it's not that there's anything wrong with it, yeah, it's just the way you use it. Now, if I had a microscope with if I had a Nikon microscope with that ITL 200 tube lens, I would be using Nikon objectives on the microscope. All right. Give me just a second, guys. I'm going to see what happens when I press this button on the thing that fixes the video. Didn't fix it, did it? It says it says I have a poor stream, which is a rather personal thing to tell a man when he's on the internet like this, but yeah. See, I'll show it to you. It says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Don't understand what it is, so I'm just going to ignore it. Let me see who is here. I've said hi to Amy and Phil. I said hi to Robert, and I'll say it again. Hey, Robert. And Susan, I'm glad you made it. Andrew, good evening. Patrick from the Netherlands. Macro everything around me. Dave, howdy from Texas. Well, howdy from Alabama. Emily, glad you made it. Oregon, eh? I like that state. Todd, welcome. Wow, got a good crowd here tonight. Good evening, Jamie. And let me see. Art, glad you made it. So you guys are getting a good picture according to Phil. So I don't understand why I'm not. I'm closer to me than you are. I should be getting a good picture. But who knows? Borderland Peppers, glad you made it back. We missed you last week. You know that? And do you know, by the way, that we have a thing on Thursday now? 2 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock London time. Same thing, live stream. Lots of good questions last time. Lots of good questions. All right. So I'm just going to ignore the warnings from now on as I scan for questions. Who is camping on the beach tonight? Wow, Alan, that sounds like fun. What are you, what exactly are you doing in the middle of winter on the beach, though? Don't answer that. Don't answer that. You'll use up valuable bandwidth, I'm sure, on the beach. All right, I see a question. Is that a question? Yeah, you are a beginner, Amy, but you've done fairly well in the competition. But you know, how new you are doesn't matter. As long as you're winning, as long as you're doing that, you'll get handicapped. You can't be good and not get handicapped just because you're new. You just took to it quicker than everybody else. But I'm thinking that oh, Robert, I'm glad you made it. I was implying about you earlier. Yeah, the idea is that the handicap will be much more gentle than you think. I mean, it won't make much difference until you really start to establish the fact that, you know, like Robert's a great example of somebody who's going to be handicapped. We'll put a blindfold on him on his photography days so he can't see anything, and that will be his handicap. Yeah, I think a handicap's a great idea. I just need to think about the how we do it. But that would be fantastic if everybody could still contribute, but on a level playing field. Good evening, bud. Glad you made it. What's a super chat, Amy? I don't know. It sounds great, though. Definitely. Gustavo, welcome. You did great in the competition this last week. Excellent. And John from Northern Ireland. Excellent. David, a while back I mentioned interest in testing a Nikon 63mm enlarging lens. Yeah, I'm always happy to try one out. I have not, I've never used it. A friend of mine has, though. A friend of mine is very familiar with it. He's in the film industry, and I don't know what they used it for, but he told me it was a really good lens. I've never actually seen a 63mm. It was used for what, old 115 or something film? I don't know, but yes. I mean, if you can do without it for a week, I'd love to put it through its paces and do a video. That would be great. That would be great fun. And if it's as good as I've been told, it might be a recommendation. So yeah, that would be great. And I'll let me get with you afterwards and make whatever arrangements we need to for me to get the shipping and everything. Jan, welcome. Jackson, Michigan. You know, for the longest time, Jan, I thought it was Jackson, Mississippi, and I just saw the M of the Michigan and missed the rest of it. But Jackson, Michigan is a different place, I think. Bruce, good day. Welcome. I hope your summer's going well. High 30s. That doesn't sound very warm and sunny to me. All right, let me see. Bruce says his internet is bad, but the streaming is good, so can't argue with that. But Art says the sound is dropping off. Art, do you have anything in your ears by any chance? I'll speak up. Angie, welcome. Newcastle. Lovely. Senpai Sky. Good day. All right, let me see. I see some questions. Is there any benefit to covering the viewfinder during stacking? Yes, if you're outdoors and you're stacking landscapes, I always cover the viewfinder. Indoors, no, I don't think there is. I never do it, but I always shoot in a dark room, and my flash is always pointing the other way. So no, that's a very good question, because I've certainly heard people give that advice. I'll tell you one thing that I do, and you probably already know this, but the most likely, if you were to walk into my studio any day, the most likely lens you would see on there would be my EL Nikkor 50mm f2.8N. That's my default lens on the horizontal rig. And I strongly urge you to tape over the aperture window, the F number setting on the barrel, because that will, as the lens gets a bit older, let light in, and it'll give you some loss of contrast. And it's subtle, but it's real, so that I would do. But I don't bother covering the... I don't actually, come to think of it, you can't cover the viewfinder on my camera, on the D7500. You can on the D850. I don't think it's got a flippy flappy thing in there, but it might. Jan asks, is there any oh, it was Jan asked that. Sorry. Yes. No. There isn't, I don't think. Pete, how are you doing? It's been a long time since I've seen you around. How's it going? How's California? I hear you're having are you having a heat wave, or is it downpours? Uh-oh, look at that. Something just showed up in the tip jar. I love that. Does the distance of the infinity space affect resolution or contrast? Yes, but not directly. The infinity space is the space in front of the relay lens behind the objective. So it's that first stretch. Now, it can be any length that you want from 0. I don't recommend 0 because that would mean your objective is going to be scratching the front of your relay lens, up to about 90 millimeters. Beyond 90 millimeters, it will start to vignette if you're using a crop frame camera and at the full extension of 245 millimeters, which is what I would use it at. If the infinity space is not right on the lens, if you don't have the objective almost touching the lens or a fair piece out, in my experience, the likelihood of getting internal reflections increases. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have internal reflections every time you take a shot, but the likelihood of it happening is greater as you get shorter than, in my experience, about 30 millimeters. So if you're in that window of 2 to 30 millimeters, that's when I seem to see the most loss of contrast from internal reflections. So I just avoid it. I use more than 30, or I try to get the objective right on the lens, and I don't like doing that just because I'm paranoid that I'm going to scratch up the lens. So I go way out. 75 millimeters is what I use. So I don't think there is, but if you had told me what you did with your test on the step length yesterday, Bud did an exhaustive study on step length to try to determine if there was a drawback to getting more photographs at a shorter step length, or if it just continually got better as you got shorter steps. In other words, does having too many photographs have a negative impact? And when I did that test last year, I thought it did, but it was very subtle. And then when I repeated the test, I couldn't show the same changes. Well, Bud agreed with my second test, and his pictures got better and better, actually. To, what was it, Bud? 5 microns you were stepping? 5 microns at 5 times power. That is about a fourth the distance I would normally use. So there's something in there. Anybody who wants to repeat that test, get in touch with me and I'll tell you how to do it so that we can compare apples to apples. I'd love to hear what you get. It's a very interesting question. All right. Hey Laura G, how are you feeling? You were under the weather for a few days, I hear. My spies told me that. Anyway, is infrared macro worth the conversion of an old DSLR? It's not worth the conversion of any of my DSLRs. Yeah, because I'm not sure that I'm not a big fan of infrared photography, period. It's a bit, I can't imagine permanently altering a camera to do it. I mean, you can make that effect look that way in Lightroom if you want, or in Photoshop. But yeah, I'm not a big fan, so it would never occur to me to do that. Is it any of you guys doing infrared? Then let me know. Let me know what you think, because I would say no. I wouldn't go gouging out bits of my sensor even in an old camera if it was still working. Could I explain what a dark field objective is versus the Mitutoyo 5 and 10x many of us are using? Yeah, sure, I will. It's actually optically the same lens. The Mitutoyo BD plan lenses are the same as the M plan, except they have the dark field chamber and mirror. What dark field means is that instead of all of the light coming through the subject, through the condenser and up through the subject, the light is only allowed to come in from the sides, and there is an area in the center that is blocked, so you're not getting any direct light through the subject. It's all coming around the subject. That's what dark field is, which is why if you look at a BD plan Mitutoyo 5X, for example, it's this big around. It's ginormous because of the fact that the light is going down and coming back up outside the subject. It's not exactly a silhouette, but it has something of that effect. But of course, you can the lens is otherwise the same optically, so you'd use all the same setups that you currently use. I think they're the same price too, or a little bit more expensive. Oh, Amy was saying that's the super soaker is what that dollar sign is. Got it. Okay, I'll call it that as long as I remember what that is, and I've already forgotten. So. Oh, that would be great, Dave. Well, I will look forward to getting that lens, and I'll put it through a battery of tests. We'll take some pictures with it and make a video that will have your name plastered all over it. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know, Tom. I don't know whether the water is better in Jackson, Mississippi or Jackson, Michigan. I wouldn't want to bet. All right. Let me see. Oh, that was Amy that did the super chat. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. And my chat thing is jumping all over the place for some reason. The electrons are just not acting normally today at all. All right. All right, Robert, question. The 58 to 52 adapter, or is the 58 to 52 adapter actually necessary when using the Nikkor 50 reverse? No, not at all. When you're using it reversed, then all you need is a 49 millimeter reversing ring. So an F mount if you're using Nikon on one end, and then a male 49 millimeter on the other, and you'd screw the lens directly onto that. When I was first doing this on video, there were none of those available, or there were none of them available anywhere cheap. I mean, you could get them from Thor Labs and you could get them from RAF Camera, but you couldn't get them on eBay. And let me go grab it so I can show you. So Oh no, excuse me, it's on the camera. So this is what it looks like. Let me try putting the other camera on. It might be a better picture. Let me see. There's no telling. No, probably not. So this is the way I would mount it. Now, I don't have, even to this day, a 49 reversing ring. The most common reversing ring that you'll find for Nikon is 52 millimeters. That seems to be the most easily accessible reversing ring. Now, a reversing ring means it's got a male thread facing forward and then a bayonet facing the camera, or the bellows. And they make this in 49 millimeters, but they're hard to find. What I could find, though, was a 49 to 52, like so. So it has the 49 male that screws into, I've got this 52 female to female, which is the one that turns it won't come off, but the 52, this is a step up from the 49 to the 52, and then I use the 52 to 52 female to female to turn the thread around so that it'll fit on that, which is a standard reversing ring. But you can do this all in one step if you go to RAF camera and do it. Well, I'll do that. I'll show you exactly where it is. This will be interesting. If I do it without messing up the yeah, okay, I can do it without messing up YouTube. So let me show you what I mean. If you go to, let me make it a bit bigger. If you go to RAF camera, which is fast becoming my favorite place to go for unusual things. Not that this is that unusual. And then search for M49 adapters. And this is a bayonet adapter. You can search under Nikon. Where is it? Somebody point to it for me. Oh, they're alphabetical. Who would have guessed? All right, and yeah, you just look for the male 49, and they go up in, no, they don't seem to be going up in numerical order either, do they? An easier way to do it is probably just to go to adapters and go to thread adapters M49, like, there you go. But not 0.5, you want 49.75. 49.5 is for something else. And that should have one of these with an F mount on the other side. So you just scan through them till you find the one with the bayonet. And yeah, these are the thread adapters, so maybe it's in that first section, but probably not. It'll be in here. And that's all you've got to do. And if you know, they will have it. I'm pretty certain they will, but it'll be several times more expensive than the same one at from a you know, Chinese company. Oh, I meant to tell you, I spoke to William today at WeMacro, and he had sent me. I'm going to keep looking for this thing. I'm definitely going to try to find it for you. But he had sent me a phone that had been repurposed for me to use as a hardwired controller for my WeMacro. And it was delivered according to the delivery people. Oh dear, there isn't one. And it never got to me. So Yeah, so it's a bit of a disaster, really. They say it was delivered, but it wasn't. So I'm going to have to get an old or a used Android phone and then download the software. But that's what I wanted to tell you was if you use WeMacro and you're having any issues with the Bluetooth, you can now contact WeMacro and they will get you one of these phones for some fee. I think it's probably around $50 and program it for you, and then it becomes a permanent hardwired controller. So the software is up on their website. It's got a special page for it. So if you've got an old Android phone, you can just download the software and Bob's your uncle. You can start using it. And I cannot find this darn thing. I'll find it and post it in the notes, okay, in the video description for afterwards. I don't want to waste time doing that now. So isn't that good about the WeMacro? And I'll keep you guys posted. Somebody has asked me several times to review or talk about the stepper motor assembly that they sell for focusing using a microscope stage. And I spoke to William today, and I asked him a bunch of questions about it, and I'm going to put together a short video on that device. I think it runs off the same controller as the WeMacro rail and uses the same motor. And I went and found a microscope that I would feel comfortable sawing in half, and I will build. I'll build either one using their particular device or one of my own motors with their controller. So one way or the other, I'll give you some information on it pretty soon. Okay, so let me go back to our comments. All right. Adam, welcome from Tampa. Oh, I like Tampa and St. Pete. Just found the channel today while learning more about macro rails. Ended up buying the WeMacro automated rail. Good for you. Congratulations. Well, we were just talking about that. It's a small world. Yeah, you're going to love that rail. It is a ridiculously good bargain, and it's a lovely solid piece of equipment. I've been using it in a vertical rig, and I've tested it for months horizontal. So yeah, I've got a bunch of videos on it too. It's about time I put out another one as well. Let me think. Okay, so the answer to Robert's question is no. You absolutely don't need to do the convoluted way I did it in that first video, but that was all I could find. That was the only adapters that they had. All right. Let me see. Pete, what's very, very, very wet? Your where you live in California is wet. I didn't think it rained there. It never rains in Southern California. That's a song. What monitor color calibrator do you use? I use the X-Rite. Is it called? No, it's got the name Spider in it somewhere. I appear to have lost it. Here it is. That's the one I use, the Data Color Spider X Pro. Honestly, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if one day it comes out that this whole color calibration thing's a little bit of a fiddle. I'm not sure I can ever tell a difference. I mean, I go through the whole process, and it always just looks like the monitor did the first time I turned it on. I don't know. The colors seem accurate to me, and they look the same as they do on my MacBook. So, but that's the one I use because it was cheaper than the other one, and I kind of like the name. I like to judge books by their cover. It's a lot quicker than reading them, you know. So Todd, that's a useless answer, isn't it? Wouldn't covering the viewfinder be for an SLR? Oh, I'm sorry, Pete. I thought you were I thought you were asking about covering the viewfinder on an SLR. I didn't realize you had a mirrorless camera. Well, that shouldn't make any difference. Yeah, there'd be no reason to cover it because all it is it wouldn't do anything. It's not going to, having that thing open isn't going to get light on your sensor, which is the problem with the pentaprism if you shine light in there. So yeah, sorry about that, misread it. And Bud is clarifying 5 microns per step at 5x, which is, that's short. But if it works, and it does work, I wonder if I still have that the photograph, but I bet I don't. I bet I don't because I closed the program. I was going to show you Bud's weevil. He photographed a weevil using this technique. By the way, what he did was this. He did a stack of a large weevil, one of my clown weevils actually, and he shot 600 images. So he shot the entire thing at 5 micron steps, and then he stacked it in both Helicon and in Xerine at 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 and 40 microns. Am I right on that, Bud? It was a spread like that. So he was removing the in-between shots. As his steps got longer, he just skipped the middle step or the middle steps to get the distance he needed. You can do that. Stack every nth picture is one of the ways you can stack your pictures in Helicon, and I guess he did it manually in Xerine. But that way you've got an identical picture set, and any changes will be because of that step change. Now you've got to really be committed to your macro to slap on a 5x objective and then do 5mm steps. That's going to make for some deep stacks, hundreds and hundreds of pictures. But you know, I trust Bud and his judgment. If he's telling me that the pictures are sharper and higher resolution at 5 microns, then they are. I'm going to repeat it and satisfy myself as well. And oh dear, there's I think somebody has somehow insinuated themselves into our conversation. Does anybody know how to remove chat things that are inappropriate? I don't. Yeah, I do. Oh dear. Yeah, I just reported that person, and they all disappeared. Okay, all right, good. Oh, and in its place, a cup of coffee from Robert. Thank you so much, sir. Delicious. In fact, I will have a sip of it right now. This stuff is the best canned coffee in the world. And that $10 is just about going to cover it. It's expensive. All right. Okay, so Pete's having atmospheric river events. You know, if you take antacids before you go to bed, that won't bother you as badly. I'm just saying. So you've had a lot of rain. Yeah, my friend Mike was telling me it's been bad out there. Pete, he's talking to Nick. Okay, fair enough. I'll stay out. Hey, Messy Laura, how are you doing? Do I print my own images at home or send them out? Yes, I do. I print them at home and I send them out. If they are smaller than 13 by 19, I print them myself. I enjoy printing. I love framing, and I love creating a finished piece of art that way. I don't have and don't want a ginormous printer because of just the incredible expense of upkeep. Once you buy a printer this size, you really need to use it and to keep it alive and working. I definitely use my Canon Pro 10 enough and to keep it in good condition and replace the ink and everything, do the services, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But for anything bigger, and I am in the process of getting some ginormous prints made. I haven't picked the lab out yet, but I'm close, and I'm not going to do them myself. I'm not going to ask anybody to do them. I'm going to pay for them and get them done professionally. So both. Are you thinking of getting a printer, or do you have a printer? It's fun. If you've never done it before, it's a whole new learning curve. It's all new stuff. Whoops. I think I had the wrong screen on. Yeah, I did. Sorry. Yeah, it's all about learning color, really. If you once you figure out how your particular printer is going to work with the paper and the ink that you're using and getting your profile all set up, it's a pleasure. And there's nothing quite like having one of your favorite prints roll out of the printer. I've got a whole wall full of them that I printed up for some people, and I'm gradually framing them as I go. It's a lot of work. Let me see. All right, Bruce, agree with the attitude on calibration. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. If Bruce agrees, that makes me feel better, because I just don't get what it's doing. And Bruce has got one of those ISO monitors. They're very nice, aren't they? Yeah, I love the BenQ. I'd have loved it even more if they'd lent it to me for free so that I could review it, but they didn't. So, and I guess I've already tested all of their lamps. Anyhow, good. Okay, so the MJKZZ system somebody's talking about. You're thinking of an automated stack and stitch system, Nick. How are you going to do that with the new Cognisys dual axis device? That's a lot of fun. All right. Well, I'm not going to butt into all these other conversations. Adam, a calibrated monitor is most useful if you're printing your images. Yes, indeed, and it is. But you know, after a while, I kind of get used to my monitor, and I know what my prints look like, so I make the changes in my print profile, and I'm happy with them. But yeah, I guess if I was printing every day and printing a lot of strange color palettes, it might be different. I know it's important to calibrate, I just can't see a difference. Anyway, all right. Oh, somebody else cleaned up that rather rude set of messages that showed up. Yeah, I just if you see them, just do that. Report them, or do whatever it is you need to do to make them go away. They're very oh, give you a wrench. Okay, what does that mean, Amy? How do you give somebody a wrench? I'll figure that out. Hang on. Nope, there's nowhere here that it says give Amy a wrench. Tell me how you do it, and I'll give you a wrench. Yeah, so Todd, you also question the calibrator's changes. I mean, I'm sure it does something. It takes long enough, and it appears to be doing some computery stuff. It's just the, you know, the thing is, our eyes are so plastic and adapt so quickly to light and dark and color changes. You couldn't tell a difference in color that has changed even recently on your computer unless it's egregious and it's completely out of whack. But if it's just a subtle difference, I just don't think the human eye can do that. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Messy Laura, I will get the Canon Pro 200, but I'll wait until you have the workflow. Yeah. Well, there's a way around it, Messy Laura. What I do in the periods when I'm not printing, and there are sometimes a couple of months that will go by without me printing, I leave the printer turned on, and it will mix the ink. It'll stir the ink up and squirt a little bit through the heads every, I don't know, whatever it's set at, twice a day or once a day. It does use a little bit of ink, but it keeps the print head really, really good condition. If you do that, it doesn't really seem to matter. And I've had mine now for years without a problem. I had my Epson printer, my office printer, for about a week before the print heads clogged. Thank goodness that wasn't my picture one. All right, I'm going to jump down to the bottom to see if Amy has told me how to get the wrench. I don't see it. Well, I will make you a moderator, but I don't see where you press the button. So I'll do it. I'll do it before I leave. Let me see. Where was I? Color calibration isn't as important with good monitors and LCDs. LCDs. It was a weekly requirement back in the CRT days. Sure, right. I would buy that, Larry. That makes sense. I think these new ones just well, I don't know, so I'll let the experts talk. You have the Canon ImageGraph Pro 1000. That is a very, very nice printer. Didn't you actually ask me a question about that just recently? That is a lovely printer. That's a 12 ink, very wide, prints off rolls thing. I think so. Bud's got something like that, only it's an Epson. Yes, indeed. Let me see. I'm looking for questions. Are there limitations on how much magnification can be used with a Wii Macro Rail? No, there is not. You're using 10x, but just purchased a MITI 20. Well, good for you. It's hard to use. It has a very, very high numeric aperture. It has a very wide open front element, and it is tricky to use. It gathers light from everywhere. I use a lens hood on mine, but the rail absolutely will perform at that level. The Wii Macro Rail will step at a nominal 1 micron step if you set it to that, and that is more than enough. At 20 times magnification, I use 2 microns usually. So yeah, you've even got some headroom over that. The most important thing at that kind of magnification is that you control your vibrations, because they will ruin everything. Light is hard, and if you're used to using Mitutoyos, which give you 31, 32 millimeters of working space off the end of the objective, that drops to 20, which doesn't seem like that much, but with the really big numeric aperture, that shorter distance means you're going to be more likely to get some light bouncing off axis into the objective. You've got to be super careful and take your time setting it up. Take lots of test shots and don't start your stack until you're satisfied. I can show you a couple of really terrible photographs that I took at 20x just the other day. I'm photographing a weevil's nose for well, I like photographing weevil noses, really is the reason I did it. And I did not control my light as well as I needed to. And you can see the picture's not good. Yeah, there's a lot of specularity, some loss of contrast. The reason I was taking these pictures was to try to figure out the anatomy of these weird down pointing teeth that actually appear to be scrapers that scrape along the flat edge of inside the stuff they're eating, and it shoves it into a hole back here. Very impressive anatomy. But the pictures just weren't any good because of not getting my lighting right. By contrast, I can show you what my weevil's nose looks like if you do get the lighting right. I wonder where it is though. Probably back in here. So we can play, look at Allan's Lightroom. I photographed one extra headshot of my orchid bee the other day, just because I could and wanted to. But I was showing you weevil noses. This is one of my favorite pictures of recent times. This is that same weevil shot from above with a 10x objective. This is actually shot with a Nikon CFI Plan 10x, which is a lovely lens for just a couple of $100. And that's a close-up of his nose with that objective. Much better shot. But at 10x you've got much more room. Oh no, I was using Nikon, so I had much less room. But anyway, yeah. I like taking pictures. I like talking about pictures too. Oh, I know what I was gonna show you. You know, I've been on record before saying that all weevils are pretty weevils. That I love weevils so much. There's no such thing as a bad weevil. That was incorrect. I discovered a bad weevil. A very bad weevil, and I want to show him to you. He's horrible. There, look at that. That is a horror. I haven't retouched it yet, but this is the stack straight out of Zerine. It's got lots of work to be done, but it is a shockingly ugly weevil with. These are actually crimson. I've got the light intensity up for my retouching, but it's darker, and these are red with blobs of red running down his front. He just is a horror, and that's one of my scientific lot weevils from Insect Trade EU. So not all weevils are pretty by any means. This one's a homicidal maniac. All right, let me see. Let me get back to my questions. Yes, Keith Cooper is an excellent resource for printing info. Good point. That's a good way to get caught up. Printer profiles, paper profiles are as important as calibration. I would say they're more important. If you are using your printer, I have ICC profiles for my printer, my paper, and the ink that I'm using. No, it's not for the ink, is it? It's just for the paper and the printer. And it makes all the difference in the world. These things are pretty precision devices. If you have never, I put it up already. If you've never photographed a print head You should do it sometime. Get an old printer that's broken, and take the print head out. It's the bit underneath the ink cartridges, and oh no, it's not in there. It's in one of the boxes over there. But it comes out as a little tablet of ceramic that's got a pattern on it, holes in it. It's got a piece of silicone, is what it is. The print heads are not nozzles as much as they are molecule-sized holes in the silicone, through which vaporized ink gets squirted, and they are beautiful, absolutely amazing 3D structures. You can follow them down into the holes a little bit and see all the semiconductor elements in there. No moving parts, of course. But yeah, it's great fun. I was going to show you some pictures of them, but I think we're out of time. Good grief, it's already after 9 o'clock. Oh, jeez. Never can. I'll get better at talking faster. No, I won't. No, I won't. I won't get better at it. Tom farms out his printing because you get very consistent without a learning curve. Yeah, right. And you don't have to buy ink, and you don't have to buy paper. You can figure out, what it's going to cost ahead of time. This is, you've got to love doing it. If you're going to print, you've got to really enjoy that, which I think I do. All right. Amy, as soon as I figure out how to, I will. I wonder if the Pi camera can be used for macro. Fractal builder. Well, the issue is it is a tiny cell phone camera, basically. And it can be used for macro if you can shorten the focal distance with a lens. So you'd need to put a macro add-on lens or any kind of magnifying lens in front of it, and then you're going to run into all the same problems that you do when you magnify a cell phone picture. You can do it, but the quality is kind of iffy. It looks very very digital, very, very grainy. But I've never used the Pi camera. In fact, I only acquired my first Pi development board a week ago. Where did I find it? At the thrift shop. That's not bad for $1 to get a Raspberry Pi, but I've never used it, so I don't even know what IDE it uses, or what language I'll have to learn. But anyway, yeah, the camera, I might get one to go on this. I would just treat it as a cell phone camera, though. All right, I've skipped ahead, so I don't know what this answer is to, so I'll ignore it. Fairfield Fogey, Townsville, Queensland, right? Are you? Yeah, you're near Steve. No, he's not in Townsville, is he? Oh, I can't remember. I think they're in New South Wales. Steve Axford and Catherine. All right. Trying to scan for questions, and question from Tom. I'm having a hard time finding somewhere that sells jumping spider specimens. Extra points for shipping to Canada. Any suggestions? You know what I'd do? Literally what I'd do is I'd call Stuart Wood and ask him where I could buy jumping spiders. If he doesn't know about where you could buy them, it's not worth buying them. I mean, that's what I'd do. I don't know, but if anybody else does, I've never bought a jumping spider. I like the free ones that live here. I've got some that live in my house. and I don't have to pay them anything. But yeah, I think that Stuart Wood he farms them or something. I think he has lots of really big Regals and what have you. But yeah, sorry I couldn't be more help with that one. And sending anything to Canada is a bit of an ordeal. I've done that before. How long is your hood on the 20X? Well, it is 18 millimeters, but it is not a standard hood. Do you want me to go get it? I'll go get it. Hang on, take 2 seconds. Oh. Okay, it's fallen off the back of my vertical stand. I use an inverted pyramid that was made by Bud Parrott on his 3D printer. Before that, I made them out of foam. They look very similar to this, only they come to a point. And I put the hole at the end directly over my subject, because I have 1 millimeter at the end of, or 2 millimeters at the end of the pyramid. But the reason I do that is I can have my lights coming from about 45 degrees on either side and above, and completely light the subject and not get anything but on-axis light reflecting. So it is a very long hood. It's only 2 millimeters shy of the full working distance, but it seems to work. It takes getting used to. It really does. But you'll see that any reflections back into that objective from the side will start to haze everything out. Yeah, let me know what happens, Tom, with your jumping spider hunt. And yeah, this is going to be breaking news in the macro community, or in my macro community. But I heard a little birdie tell me that a certain focus stacking expert has changed the way he's using the Mitutoyo 5X objective. He was doing, this is Rick I'm talking about, was doing some testing with the 5X Mitutoyo and a Raynox DCR 250. And he was using it in a very unconventional way. He was using it unreversed at, I don't know what distance, what he measured it at, but he actually just set the lens up the way I recommend you set it up, by finding infinity focus with your bellows and then putting the objective on the front. And he was telling me that it is the sharpest he's ever taken pictures with a Mitutoyo. So I ordered a DCR 250 today. I haven't had one in the studio for 5 years. I never used it, but it's time I started now. So that's breaking news. I already told Bud about that earlier on today, so he's got his 250 on the way as well. So yep, that's going to be interesting to try. So Nick, that 10X you have is the same one I'm talking about, the CFI plan. I love that lens. It's a beautiful lens. Who looks like an alien? All right, I think we're good. You're going to be awake all night. You should try one of these coffees. That will definitely keep you awake. A homicidal weevil maniac. I'm not kidding. You'll have nightmares if you see this thing up close. It's nasty. All right. Any tips for controlling vibrations or setting up a very solid studio? Yeah, Nick, there are so many different things that you need to do or can do. But I'll tell you one of the, watch my video on vibrations. I did a video about 6 months ago. If you search on my website for vibrations, you'll find the video. But I don't know if I'd mentioned this thing to you, but there's an app that it was suggested I get this app, and now I can't remember who told me to, but it's called the Physics Toolbox. You can get it for, I think it was for free or for a couple of dollars from the App Store, and it's got all of these different things in it, and one of them shows you whether or not your rig is vibrating. Seriously. You use the linear accelerometer, I think it is, or the motion visualizer, and it gives you this graph, and if you, I think this is the one, yeah, see, that was a vibration. When things vibrate, it shows up, and you can change the scale, and if you pay the extra money, you can get some other things that it does. Really very fine vibration shows up. Anyway, I set mine up so that it would detect any vibration. Stuck it on the rail and just stood still, and I could see my heartbeat on it. So yeah, get this app. I think it was the motion visualizer that I used. No, it wasn't. I'll figure it out. I'll put the name of the app in the description. But yeah, it's a great tool. Bolt your table or your stand to a wall, to a support member. You know, one of the what do you call those bits of wood that hold your house up? Whatever that is, bolt it to that. It doesn't matter how you do it. If you're a billionaire, buy an optical anti-vibration table that has active vibration dampening, and you won't have to worry about it. But everybody else, if you've got a part of your house that has concrete on the floor where you've previously buried bodies or something, put your rig on that. Oh, I was going to tell you the decapitation story. Well, I'll tell you. Just go, if you're ready for your tea or whatever, just go on, and I'll just tell this story. It'll only take a minute. I was sitting at my desk working, and my eye kept catching a vivid green flash from somewhere on my desk, and I found what looked like a tiny piece of emerald sitting on my desk on a white card. I'll put the pictures in. I'll put them up on Discord so that you can see. I'll do that this evening to show you what it was I was actually looking at. It was a head of a viridescent green bee that was on my desk, and I put it on a pin with a little bit of super glue and took pictures of it, and it was a desiccated, hollowed out bee head, and I have no idea where it came from. I haven't photographed one of those bees in ages, and it must have fallen out of my beard or something, but yeah, it was a head on my desk. I'll be damned. The pictures are fantastic because it's got a big crack running down across its face. It's kind of horrible, really. Anyway, that was it. No, Alex, it was ugly whether it had been smiling or not. It's a hideous creature. An evil weevil, as Art says. All right. Who do you print with? Are you asking me, Andrew? Because I don't know. I haven't decided which lab to use. It'll be one of the national ones, I feel sure. Why, do you have a recommendation? That would be good. Oh, that was the decapitation story, Mike. It was, I don't remember decapitating it, but it had been decapitated by the time I found its head, and there is no body anywhere around. And interestingly, the first thing I did was run in the other room and pull out my orchid bee, because that's got a flashy green head too. I just wanted to make absolutely sure it wasn't that guy's head, and it wasn't. His head's fine, and it's attached, so I don't know how that can happen. I don't know how you can lose a bee, keep its head, and have it show up months later on your desk. Yeah, bizarre. All right, I think we're getting to the end of the questions. You must have thrift shops there, Robert. I mean, the trick with thrift shops is you don't go once a year and expect to get lucky. You every time you drive through their parking lot, you just run in and have a quick look where the good stuff would be. Usually the tools and the computery type stuff. Most of the time, there's nothing there. It's just rubbish. But a lot of the time there is something there, and yeah, a brand new Raspberry Pi for $1, it's worth running in there. Yeah, Stuart does keep them as pets. Yeah, and I've never talked to him about it, but I will. I'll try that. I'll get in touch with him and try to find out where he gets them from. All right. Yeah, he doesn't keep dead ones. Yes, you definitely want exotic ones if you want to take pictures like Stuart does. I mean, you want to get the big colourful ones. The only one that I think is really cool around here is the Audax. That's the one with the green pedipalps. And then there's another one actually that I completely didn't know existed. It's a weevil lookalike jumping spider. No, not a weevil, a pseudoscorpion. It looks like a pseudoscorpion, but it's not. It's a weevil. Sorry, it's not. It's a jumping spider. And I photographed that thing when I was out looking for slime molds. Beautiful, beautiful spider. Never seen one since. So, yeah, buy an exotic one, take pictures. Stuart's done a few videos where he gets the jumpers from. I haven't seen those, Messy Laura, but I'll check it out. Yeah, I believe Stuart came to my live stream on last Thursday. I should have asked him then. All right. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Great conversation. Listen, if you... Tom said the bee was beheaded. Yeah, it was. Brilliant, brilliant. One last question from Borderland. Maybe a weird question, but does anybody here ever shoot insects with a super tele? Yeah, I have. They're a long way away. Yeah, I'll tell you, we'll cover this first time next week because that's actually a good question. I use a 200mm lens with a diopter on it sometimes, which is about as close to using a long lens as I'll get. Okay, there we go. Everybody's heading home. Good for you. Thank you for coming. If you find yourself at Loose Ends on Thursday night, 8 o'clock London time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon my time, is live stream number 2, Macro Talk 2, 1 hour like this, probably go a little bit longer. And I have to talk a lot faster in that one because there are a lot more questions, and there were a lot tonight. Okay, so that's it. Oh, what are the side bits on the Raynox? They're for the squeezing the adapter, so that, is that what you're asking me? What are they? They're for the adapter. You know that it fits into it fits in on the screw end into the adapter, and the squeezy things are the springs to grab it. Oh, somebody already answered that question. Okay. All right. Just don't ask Stuart about Bob the A-hole. Okay. I think that sounds like good advice. I don't know what it means, but it sounds like good advice. Guys, enjoyed it as always, and I will, whatever it is I said, I'll put in the notes. I will put in the notes, and yeah. Rob, I'm glad you enjoy them. I absolutely live for Tuesday nights. It's my favorite part of the week. I really do love it. And Amy, I'm glad. I meant to say something earlier on. I'm glad you weren't driving the car this time and we're here for it. That's good. All right. Then it is time to say goodnight, one and all. And I will catch you on Thursday. If not Thursday, there's no Patreon meeting this weekend. Yeah, if you live anywhere near Alabama and you want to go out and hunt some insects this weekend, I think Laura might be coming down this way. So yeah, that would be fun. Laura, bring a net with you. We'll catch some snakes. All right, guys. No, I don't blame you, Messy Laura. Time to quit. See you Thursday or next Tuesday. Take care, everybody.